Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. For those of you who do not know who I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez, and I am the co-founder of Life's Real Currency with my husband, Michael Sanchez, and I bring you these Military Mondays every single Monday morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And my goal is to educate you on veteran business owners, spouses of veterans, because they are extremely important in their role as a spouse, and children of veterans, so that you can get a flavor for military life, but also learn what we learn in the military that can make you a very successful business owner today. So if you are any of those categories, please reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation and maybe see if it would be fitting to host you on my Military Mondays. But enough of that, because I have a rock star on today. Shane Hicks is in Texas, and Shane and Mike and I met 4, 5, maybe longer than that, 5 years ago. And he has a beautiful family, and we got talking, and I realized Shane's background back then. And of course, we got shooting the crap about military life and that, and realized his background. And he has been, for the last 8 years, using the skills that he learned in the military, which we will talk about, to build referral networks. So thank you so much for being on, Shane. I really appreciate you taking the time out, especially on a holiday weekend, away from your family and your little baby girl, Kara, who's adorable. So thanks for being on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your background. You went to the, you're a graduate of the military academy.
Right. I graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Started my career as a health information systems officer. So I did computers, IT, and signal deployment for the medical command. I tore my retina 75% of the way off of my eye in combat training, which was actually mandatory boxing. They put me in the ring with a guy that was 6'5", outweighed me by a good 50, 60 pounds. The intent of the course was to teach me to face my fear, and they determined that that was my fear. So he hit me really hard, actually tore both of my retinas in the process. And then 4 surgeries later, the military determined I was no longer serviceable, and they medically boarded me, and I retired out of Fort Sam Houston around 1998.
Wow. And you started out in the medical, but you ended up in IT, correct?
So my position actually was, it was a little more complicated than that. I actually originally branched into the Adjutant General Corps personnel, and was supposed to do post offices and people and awards and things like that. However, I was getting a master's degree in IT project management, and computers had always been my hobby. Well, the commander discovered that I had IT skills. So instead of putting me in branch qualifying jobs that would have led me to major and fast tracked me to, colonel and later on general officer, which is what I thought my plan was going to be, my OERs actually did not track with what my branch wanted me to be. So being the enterprising young lieutenant that I was, and being a personnel officer, I discovered that there was a specialty in the Medical Service Corps called Health Information Systems Officer, where surprisingly, all of my officer evaluation reports tracked with that code. So I used my personnel skills. I got myself transferred from the Adjutant General Corps to the Medical Service Corps, and suddenly had a job where I was fast tracking again.
Awesome. So, see, those are just some of the skills that you learned in the military, despite what you were supposed to originally do, tracking in, you capitalized on the training that you received. And so talk a little bit about the skills that you learned and the training you learned in the military that has made you super successful today in business and specifically in building referral-based networking teams.
So the very first one that I would go over is what we really just highlighted, which was I got out of high school and I had a plan. I was going to go to college. I was going to be actually a computer engineer. I had some scholarships at Missouri colleges, full rides in a lot of different places. And my father passed away when I was a senior in high school. Suddenly, my plans and my life changed overnight. I got accepted to West Point. I went to school. Now my track had changed. I was now going to be in the military. I was going to be an officer. I actually got an undergraduate degree in psychology and counseling, right? Which was going to run into my personnel career, right? Oh, wait. Then I had a series of evaluations that didn't make that plan possible. So I altered my plan and now I was going to be an IT guy, right? So I was going to do this as a military career. Well, now I get injured. My military career ends. And what do? I go out and open an IT company to take advantage of my master's degree in training. Well, I was the chief cook and bottle washer of my company. I did absolutely everything. And I ran that business from 98 until 05, when that stress caused me to blow my eye out again, have surgery number 4. And guess what? I had to change my plan again. I went through a divorce in 09. I had to change my plan again. Dell came along and started undercutting the prices of computers. So I had to change what my company did. I say all of that to say this: what I learned in the military, the best strategists come extremely prepared for battle. We always have a battle plan. But here's what we always find out: in the middle of battle, in the heat of battle, things change. And it's not on you to stick to a failing battle plan. If people are dying, if you are losing ground, if you are not meeting your mission objective, it is not failure to recognize that and change your plan. So everything that I do in life, whether it's been military or family or business or any of that, I will always have an intentional battle plan. But when that doesn't work, I'm going to take you from the right side instead. And when that doesn't work, we're going to flank you, because I will have a contingency plan for everything that we come up against. So that was really the number one thing that I learned in the military. The second thing that I would say, and I learned this not only at West Point, but out in the field, is that you will always have more things that you need to do, more things that you are responsible for than you can possibly get done in the number of hours that you have in a day. There are many, many ways you can address that. Unfortunately, a lot of people, in my opinion, they choose the wrong way. They drive themselves into the ground. They're constantly stressed about every single thing that they haven't been able to get done. So they'll work longer and longer and longer hours, thinking that eventually that list of things to do is going to clear up. But by the end of the day, all they've done is added 10 more items to that list. Now, here's what I'm going to say to that. Never use that excuse not to get up in the morning. not to show up and do the best and accomplish the most that you possibly can. But at the end of the day, forgive yourself for the things that you can't get done. It's okay. The majority of them will be waiting for you the next day. Life is not about balance, it's about harmony. And so all you need to do is look at all of the things you need to get done, learn how to prioritize. I used to tell this story all the time. When I was working for the colonel, there would always be more things that the XO wanted me to get done than I could possibly get done, right? And so I went into his office as this brand new young lieutenant, and I said, "Sir, you've given me way more than I can possibly get done. How do you want me to do this?" Now, what I had learned at West Point was I would look at when my due dates were, and I would prioritize, and I would try to give a touch to every item, but I would focus on those that were due first. In the military, I felt it was a little bit different. So I had all these things that needed to be done for the colonel. I went to my XO and I asked the major what I was supposed to be doing. And he just looked at me and goes, "Well, they're all equally important." Okay, well, that didn't work for me. I had a really hard time believing that every single task I had been given was equal. So here's the game that I started playing. I got to know the old man. So I got to know the colonel. And then I had this, a folding table, and I had every project that I had. And basically it went from, this is the old man's pet project. This is what the colonel cares about. This is what he loves. Here in the middle, he kind of cares about it. Maybe we got an inspection coming up. And then down here at the end was, the colonel didn't give a rip about this stuff. And so while I would still go and touch everything every day, I would prioritize by what my commander felt was most important, mid-important, least important. And while everything for the XO, of course, still got my attention, I would forgive myself if some of the programs that the colonel didn't care about kind of fell back a little bit, because I knew the mission critical stuff, the things that he felt were the most important, were getting taken care of. Then that part leads to the third thing that I learned in the military, which is you cannot shoulder the weight of the entire world on your back. Sometimes the reason you run out of time is because you simply didn't learn to delegate to those with proper skill sets the things that you're not able to get done. Here's a story I've got from that. So, one of my very first jobs as a second lieutenant. So I graduated, went to the officer basic course, and was immediately sent to Germany with my brand new bride, who had never been out of country. That was a treat. So my very first day in country, I get called up to the battalion headquarters, go to talk to the colonel. And the colonel says to me, "Hey, Lieutenant Hicks, did you know that we're deploying to Bosnia tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he smiles real big and he says, "Do you think I have a position for you down there?" And I said, "I don't know, sir. Do you?" And he goes, "No, but I leave tomorrow. So brand new, no time in, second lieutenant. You will report to the battalion headquarters, and starting tomorrow, you are the rear detachment battalion commander." And that was my first second lieutenant, no time in job for 12 months. Now, you talk about being overwhelmed and having more things to do than I could possibly do in a day. The responsibilities of a lieutenant colonel on a second lieutenant. It was quite crushing. And I was indeed working, oh my Lord, 4 a.m. until I don't know, sometimes 4 a.m, trying to do multi ops, right? So I was rear detachment, so I had to make sure everything was taken care of back there. But then the colonel was constantly on the phone from downrange telling me all the things that I needed to do to support the battalion downrange. You know, we had 4 companies that we were supporting at the time, and I had to make sure that the captains were all taken care of and stuff like that. Although I will tell you, it gave me great pleasure to know that I had the ability with my signature to suspense majors and captains and get them to do whatever we needed to do. That was kind of fun. But the non-fun part of that was that every single day I had an inbox that I felt was stacked to the ceiling. Well, about 6 months in, the command sergeant major, who had been downrange with the colonel, returned to battalion headquarters and took the senior NCO that he had left as my command sergeant major, right? Took him out, put him back in the supply shop or wherever that guy worked, and took back over really as, you know, the battalion command sergeant major. He walked into my office one day and he saw the stack of stuff in my inbox. And he said, you know, expletive held, wow, what are you doing, sir? And I'm like, I'm doing my job, Sergeant Major. And he came in and he started going through the paperwork on my desk. And he goes, oh, that's mine. Oh, that's mine. Oh, that's mine. Wow, hey, yeah, that's mine too. He took half my paperwork and had taught me that actually the acting command sergeant major should have been doing half the stuff that I thought I was responsible for as the battalion commander.
Wow.
Great lesson. So from that point on, I learned when you have a capable staff, learn what their jobs are, because their jobs aren't your job. Your job is to know enough about their job to get out of their way and let them do their jobs and hold them accountable, sometimes through a little tough love, to get those jobs done. So that's what I do in business today. I surround myself with incredibly quick, strong, fast, smart people. When I can, I ensure that they are better than me at what they do. I take all the tasks that we have to get done and I do my best to delegate those tasks in recognition of the skill sets that they have. Because when you allow them to do the things that they're good at, they succeed and you get a lot more done than you could ever get done yourself, either taking it on all yourself and trying to get it done, or in micromanaging all of the people below you because they're struggling to do something that they're not suited to do. And if you do that, you end up doing the job anyway, so there wasn't any point in delegating it down. And I would say those are the 3 primary things that I learned throughout my military career that I think directly apply to any interaction, any business that you're in today.
Awesome. And so you're building referral networks. You've been doing that for 8 years. I am a part of several referral networks, one exclusive referral network. But you've built over the last few years a very unique model referral network down in Texas and starting to expand across the country. And I don't really want to get real deep into that, but I do want to kind of touch on it and talk about why referral networks work and why people should consider getting involved with a referral network.
So I would start out that again with going a little bit into my military history. So I'm not from Texas. originally. I'm a military transplant. So when I was medically retired, I determined that Texas is quite possibly the best state for retired veterans to live in, because every program that they've got more or less caters, especially in the San Antonio area, to disabled veterans. So I also had mentioned I went through an insane divorce, right? Well, what happened was I had we had our businesses in the former spouse's name. We had just purchased what was supposed to be our retirement home. We had actually moved from San Antonio for her job out into the New Braunfels area. And when we went through the divorce, she shut down my companies. She left me in a town where none of my military friends were around anymore, because, you know, everybody was PCSing or retiring or doing all those great things that us military folks do. And about, I guess, in 2009, I found myself as a military transplant in New Braunfels, Texas, where, quite frankly, if you are not a New Braunfels native, and it's also a strong German population, if you aren't one of those two, you don't fit in. I was trying to reboot my business because I knew no one. And I can remember the very first time I went to the Chamber of Commerce, right? As a brand new member, had that little star on my chest saying brand new member. And I bounced off of one closed circle after another. I would walk up, try to talk to people. They didn't want to talk to me. I would walk up to another group. They didn't want to talk to me. The only person that talked to me that entire night was the chamber coach, right? The one that's responsible for going and saying hello to all new members. So the start of my relationship marketing career was, I decided I was never going to be treated like that again. And I was never going to allow anyone else to get treated like that again. You know, one of the things that you hear when you're around the military is to win a revolution, the best way to have a revolution is from within. Mm-hmm. So the next chamber event I went to, I ripped off my new member star and I set myself a quota of introducing myself as chamber to 3 new members every single time we got together. And then those 3, I told them, take off your star. You're no longer a new member. We're chamber. The next meeting we go to, the 4 of us are each going to select 3 new members, introduce ourselves as chamber, and now they're us. So if you employ that model over a year or 2, guess what?
You get a big network.
Became the reality. We were chamber. No longer the little closed circles. There were no longer the wallflowers in the room, because my team would engage with those as soon as they walked into the room. So what I did then was I expanded that practice to more official networking organizations. I actually at one point became the franchise manager for BNI, which at the time was the largest warm market referral marketing teams in the world. And how I did that was, I have a rather distinct method, which is, in order to be successful in referral marketing groups, you have to have a good referral marketing team. If you just do it at random, if you just throw spaghetti against the wall and hope that it sticks, you're never going to get it done enough and it's all going to fall off the wall, right? So I would intentionally go to people that were coming to the networking groups, and I would ask them questions about who is your ideal customer. So if I could only give you 1 or 2 referrals a week, but that was the best big money or most successful referral you ever got, if you're in my networking group, you could literally get that referral, go close on it, then come back the next week because you knew I was going to give you that same thing again, and you'd never go hungry. Well, once folks tell me who that ideal customer is, I then help them identify 3 other potential business partners that aren't their customers, but who either share that same customer. In other words, one person's ideal customer is the same ideal customer as the other 3, or those 3 businesses are constantly in front of that customer or part of an association that customer frequents, right? Like one thing I would do is I would walk up to successful business networkers and say, wow, I would love to connect with more people like you. Where do you hang out? And that would give me, right, not the BNI meeting, because we already are there, but they would say, oh, I'm part of the Restaurant Owners of San Antonio. Oh, that's an association I need to be part of. Or they would be like, oh, you know, I'm part of Toastmasters, or I'm part of, like, you know, the Professional Association of Engineers, or the, you know, the Network of Academy Graduates. Find out the other places that these successful people go, and then make those connections. So what I started doing is coming up with basically fields of expertise, like a real estate market, or a marketing market, right? Or a home services market, or a financial services market. And I created lists of 4 to 20 businesses in each of these markets. I would interview as we're building the teams, find out who the ideal customers are, and assign new members to these silos so that from day one, they would have 3 to 5 other businesses in our group that would meet their needs. And then the way that I describe networking groups, it's like an 18-wheeler. Each one of these business sections is a tire on your 18-wheeler. The very first thing you want to do is you want to balance your tires. So you go out and you make sure that each of your professional classifications has a solid group of people. You put those tires on your truck. You need to make sure you've got all 18 wheels, right? Because think about it. If you're driving a semi, right, it's got a payload that you are trying to deliver intentionally, but to deliver it on time and intact, you got to have all your tires on, and they've got to be balanced. Because if you lose balance, you're going to get that shudder, and eventually you may start driving along, but you're going to shudder, you're going to have a blowout, you're going to wipe out on the road, you're going to flip the truck, and now, right, everybody's out there cleaning up the highway. And you didn't deliver your product or your service in the way that you intended. And so that's why it's so important when you're building large networking teams. And over just the past 3 years, I've built, using that model, 14 teams of 40 to 60 business partners.
Wow.
All using that model. We all come in, recognize each other's skill sets, fortify the group with 3 to 5 that can constantly put referrals to each other every week because they have the same customers. But then the different wheels on the truck know how to use each other, right? So one of our teams knows to go to our marketing team because they're the one-stop shop for everything print, everything digital, everything graphical. You go to our financial services team, you've got your financial advisor, you've got your insurance plans, you've got your CPA. And so by building a complete team intentionally, bringing all of those parts together and teaching everybody how to use everybody else, your team becomes the one-stop shop for anything anybody needs. And this is what I guarantee. Since 2009, when I've been doing this, I went from the guy that knew no one. Now my reputation in the area is that I'm the one that knows everyone. And here is what I guarantee. When you become the person that is the connector, when you become the one that knows everyone, your phone, your Facebook, your email will constantly be filled with requests for the things that you don't do, but you will also get every request for the things that you do. And that's the benefit of helping other people grow their businesses, be successful, and connecting them. Because again, I guarantee when you're the one that everybody comes to for everything else, they will always come to you for what you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shane. We could go on for hours. This is amazing training for any business owner, or if you are considering being a business owner. A 1 minute, what would be your advice for somebody who is currently retiring or getting out of the service, or might be 3 to 5 years down the road? Real quick, what's your biggest piece of advice?
Get out there and go where the people are. So whether you get invited to a chamber mixer or whether you get invited to Zooms, right? Now I say, hey, if I can put you in a room or a Zoom, where do you want to be today? My biggest advice is just get out there. It doesn't matter what you do, what your background is. You just start talking to people, you get to know them, focus on building relationships first. And when you have the relationships, the business opportunities, in fact, opportunities that you may not even realize today are available, they will present themselves because of the relationships and the people that you've met along the way. So just get out and start meeting people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time this morning, especially on the holiday. Please tell your beautiful wife and your daughter that I appreciate them giving up a little bit of your time on the holiday weekend. And Shane will put in the comments below how to get connected with him. Obviously, I've tagged him in this so you can get connected with him on Facebook. I would love to have a conversation with you if you are getting ready to get out of the service. Shane is also available. We'd be glad to help mentor you along and help you decide. We have lots of resources to help you figure out what that next phase of your life might be, what that next course will be. And we'd love to help you do that. So with that, thank you everybody for joining me here on Military Mondays. Thanks again, Shane, and I will see you next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.